Hi there, everybody. My name is Kate, and welcome to my channel, Trinergy Awakens Naturally. So, let's talk about a couple of things. Let's talk about our ego. Boy, that's a biggie because that is the battle that we end up having here on this earth, in this earth experience, the earth school, as it were. That we all have an ego, and so does everyone else, regardless of how we feel about our own or regardless of how we feel about anyone else's. However, how does that tie into our spirit world, our spirit understanding, our essence, or any other lifetime that we've lived here on the planet or elsewhere, or any other work that we've done here on the planet already? Well, in my experience recently, using Hape, excuse me, which is a medicinal plant medicine, it was revealed to me a clear understanding of what it means when we meet our ego with someone else's ego, and that's all we have in between us. We always, always, always have our essence. We always have our spirit. We always have our soul. We always have everything that's ever happened to our energetic signature, no matter where we've been or how long we acknowledge that we've been, regardless of this lifetime or any other. And so, the more identified we are in all of the things that we think we are as a human being, the less we're really going to be able to connect our energetic stamps very well, because there's a lot of blockage in between. And so, when we're meeting other people's egos, and they're meeting ours, we often find we either like other people or we don't, or we just tolerate them. We come with all different kinds of, feelings about people, and we make assessments pretty quickly because what we're judging rather than discerning, what we're judging is the characteristics of another person that either vibe with the way we feel and all the labels we carry, or we don't, or we like some of them and we just won't talk about those parts that I don't like. Those can be very karmic in nature when we're heavily identified just in all those labels, as unconscious people, people that are asleep, people that aren't on their journey, that haven't awakened yet, that aren't into the enlightenment thing, however you identify that. And even when we are on our journey, we still have ego that we carry with us. And the way that we can tell is that when we meet people and they are asleep, as it were, or unconscious, as it were, we tend to really battle with those parts that we have to really resolve within ourselves, either because that's a karmic tie that we have business to do with, or it's a karmic pattern that we are working as at a soul level to resolve for ourself, our timeline, our tribe, our ancestors, or whatever level of work we're doing with that. And again, the less that we are identified with that spiritual self, that energetic signature, my personal stamp, and what I'm about, the less we identify with that, the more we're going to get tied into the matrix game and trying to battle and change what other people are doing. Or we change ourselves to more easily adapt rather than let me come inside and I don't have to adapt to anything inside of me, because the perfection within me is already perfect, and that is true for other people too. Where we run into those battles, though, 333, thank you, is that the ego can demonstrate itself in an endless number of ways. Just look around, and we identify with other people in that way too. However, it's built on the constructs of something that is merely human. Our spirit and our soul, our energetic stamp, is created elsewhere in the cosmos. We all come from the same cosmic juices and the same cosmic soup. So we're all created in that powerful, beautiful, pure loving frequency. However, when you draw that down onto earth and a person disconnects from it at birth, as it is told to us, we forget. We go through that, lake of wow, forgetfulness. When we disconnect from that, or we continue to disconnect it from it because of the ills and the harshness of the world, we become less aware of how to understand someone on a spiritual level, how to understand them and ourselves on a spiritual level, and what is the work here for me to do. And so, what I encourage others to do, um, because I had to do this myself. I was encouraged to do it and finally bit the bullet and thought, okay, how can I look at this a different way? Seeing a different perspective, looking from a different vantage point, looking from that casual observer point really means that we're going to a more ascended place. We're going to a less egoic state where we can pull out of all of the trauma bonding and the karmic ties to observe. It won't mean that we are instantly cut from those ties necessarily. Sometimes we are, just by being able to identify that, yeah, that's what that is. We can really do great work there by understanding that a karmic tie or a soul tie that is really unhealthy, however we label it, we get into a bunch of different labels, and I don't care what you call it. I'm calling something that is a toxic tie of some kind based on trauma, based on wounding, based on our previous understanding of somebody else who did that, and they're still carrying that pattern for me to work on within me. Um, we can really get messed up in trying to understand how to heal from it. One of the greatest things that we can assist ourselves is to put on a different pair of goggles, to really go to that quiet and steady place that is totally pure, that is from the cosmic juices, to align back with what we know to be the pure source of our own energy, and is the same pure energy that we all come from. However, we are not all using that the same way. We're not all tapped in the same way, and we do not all experience that the same way. And if we're not even trying, we're going to be very hooked into the 3D experience and believing that that person's bad, what they've done is bad, this is good. And we align with that based on our own hood, where we grew up, what we learned to be the norm, what we learned to be acceptable, what we learned to be the way to do life. And many of us who were pretty sensitive right from the beginning and had a hard time with shutting down that part of ourselves, we could see as children, and yet had no power to really effectively change anything. And so we had to learn how to adapt in ways much like the 3D world, just like everybody else. I'm not telling you that people who are more tapped in, the star seeds, the chosen people, light workers, people who are energy healers, and in those waves that Dolores Cannon talked about of light workers who are here to do some pretty powerful timeline work and grid work and healing work for the planet as we move into 5D consciousness and new earth energies. I'm not saying that we are different, special, and that we deserve more, that we get more, or anything like that. I'm saying that there are people who understand and can wear those goggles. And if that's you, if you're here, it probably is you. If you're even interested in it, it can be you. People that tell me that chosen people are already chosen before they get there, to earth, and all of this, it's fine. It's just that's part of the ego identification sometimes, is that we want to know that we are special because we have a special gift, we have a special ability, and yet nobody out here seems to want to have anything to do with it. And that can cause us a lot of pain, that can cause us a lot of brushing up with those ego states. And part of what the journey is for people who are really tapped in and understanding that stuff is to get very adept at being able to observe that with those goggles on, of looking at the prism and see what is the dimension here of me, and what is the dimension of this person, what is the dimensionality of this situation, and really start receiving those messages about who is this person to me, and what about their ego in a past life or this life or any other experience we've ever had. What about this person is causing me to go to battle? What about this person brings me a great sense of peace, and wow, I'm really home, I enjoy this? What about this experience is causing that for me? And how may I continue to reach that state of complete sovereignty within me that I can continue to discern rather than judge? Because discernment really is about being able to weed, out the separate the wheat from the chaff, and be able to understand where we're going to best align, and be able to best cut those karmic ties where they are. And if we continue to see the same patterning showing up, it's a great opportunity to say, my ego is really being challenged here by their ego. Those are very strong. Sometimes they can be really devastating. They can take us to points in hell that we never even knew existed. Hell in our own mind, hell on earth, hell as the place that some claim it to be. Whatever it is to you, that negative state of being that takes us so far away almost instantly from that peaceful place where I know where I'm from, I know what I'm about, and I know that my energetic signature is really rubbing up hard. And this is just some disharmony to me that really is abrasive to me. And if we feel powerless to do anything except karmically align with that disharmony, we are taking ourselves out of our own sense of harmony and our own personal resonance for what really works best for ourselves. And so when we come across someone or we have someone in our lives that has really challenged us and really brought us some, hey, I'm a karmic tie, and I'm going to keep hammering down on this. People that are unplugged from the matrix can really have an edge because they've chosen themselves. Whether they were designated beforehand or not doesn't matter to me. I'm more interested in when we have chosen ourselves as, I need to align with my home frequency, the one that celestially works best for me, and the one that I know I come from pure frequency, my signature, my stamp, my family. It can cause a lot of problems because people in our blood family or people in our circle, our professional circle, our friendship circle, our whatever circle we're hanging out in, can really start to look like, yeah, that's really so and so is just bad, and we start seeing perhaps the bad human characteristics, the bad ego characteristics of people. And it can be a little bit jarring because, at least for me, I thought, well, I'm loving and I'm kind and I don't want to see anybody hurt. I don't want to see anybody suffer. And yet, I can clearly identify that there's no more work here to do. Then we have to allow people their own sovereignty, even if they're choosing, in our opinion, to be choosing badly. We still must allow the sovereignty of another soul to make its choices and cut those ties. And again, remembering that becoming the casual observer, to be able to say, I'm looking at this in a brand new way. Not that I'm superior and I see all the dirty and the bad in you. It's being able to rise above that situation and look at it from a different vantage point and say, I can see better than you, perhaps, or leave that whole part of the conversation out. I can see a vantage point that allows me to take in a bigger picture. And the human experience, the 3D experience, when people are deep into it and they're easily identified with their ego, they're going to meet our ego, and it's going to be ugly if they're not ready to really meet what their ego is about. Not always in every situation is it exactly a mirror in terms of that person is bringing up in me something that I need to heal or fix within me. It depends on my reaction. How am I responding to this? Does this give me a physical reaction? Does this make me want to cry? Does it make me go to a rage point? Does it make me, want to hurt that person? Does that make me afraid? Does it make me want to run away? Does it make me want to alter and get off my pivot point here with, I know what I am? And that's really, really, really hard to know if we don't already know or have a very good sense of, this is what I am. And so I do already know. If we're not already on a pivot point, or we're on what we think is a pivot point that it can be easily distracted or knocked off, then we're maybe not there quite as much as we think we are. And so what is our response when someone comes to us with some very harsh stuff, or it comes to us that we feel that shame monkey coming up to try to land on us? One of the best things that I know to do is to use whatever methods you need to find that solid place in you that is unchangeable. It's formless, it's mindless, it's egoless, it is the great I am, it's the divine, it's God. However it is that you align with that understanding that takes away all the labels. We as human beings, we use language to convey our messages, and because we have twisted around and bastardized so many parts of different languages to manipulate, really, to really manage and manipulate people's ideas. It's like the world marketing, global marketing of everything that you could ever imagine is that based on what I think the world needs or you need or I need, I create this whole story and I start changing minds, years ago, because it was the product of the age of Pisces, where that's the slave contracts and really harsh karmic ties and harsh contracts and harsh work to do, harsh karmic return on things was going to eventually come into being, that we need to clear this debt. There's no way that we're going to continue to move into 5D experience, and new earth frequencies without clearing out the old from the way that we used to be as we go into the age of Aquarius with one another. And the real truth is that people that don't understand that and don't even want to try to understand it, they're still very ego identified, and they want to meet right at that level here on 3D. And as we continue to move rapidly, we can still be loving and kind and allow people to, yeah, do whatever you need to do. However, because I can see from a different vantage point that is more like me, I can see what you're doing, and I can see that I need to release you to go do that. And the truth of it is also that no matter what another person is doing, even a person that I love or really care about, I still have to maintain that space within me of, I'm a sovereign being, you're a sovereign being, and the most kind and loving thing that I can do is allow you to be you, boo. And the more that I have resistance or you have resistance to that releasing and letting go and detaching, the more karmically we're going to be aligned, and the more often we're going to have those opportunities to be sitting in a remedial education class, the cosmic remediation of how will we go forward with this? How will we process this? How will we release this? And there are cord cutting ceremonies. There are all kinds of things that people can do. We find all kinds of ways because we're culturally aligned very differently. We're spiritually aligned very differently, religiously. Some people really reach their space in nature, and they're not necessarily all about God. Some people reach that Zen state through sports, that they play a sport and they get in their zone. Whatever it is that gets us to that purest place within us that allows us to focus and be quite disciplined is often, very much so, the one that will help us out here in 3D to disconnect from the people that you're just not for me. And the less that I worry about what happens to them or what I should do to them or what I shouldn't do to them, should I help them, should I not? The best way that I have been given ever from the very beginning of understanding this stuff is that the best that I can do anytime ever is to be in my frequency, my home frequency, not allowing myself to be knocked off my pivot point for any reason. And whatever it takes for me to align in that place and remain very principled in what I'm doing here as an impeccable energy warrior, if you will, is that I need to stay right there in that frequency. And sometimes the best I can do is cut that stuff away and say, this is not for me and it's not good for you. Because the more that I come here with that ability to observe and see this and no longer try to adapt to that through my spiritual oneness with my pivot point, the more I try to adapt my pivot point, I'm still going to be off kilter. I'm still going to be out of alignment and eventually find myself slowly shifting my energy to whatever it is that I'm trying to adapt to. Now, that does not make us people that cannot work in crowds or cannot work with other folks. It oftentimes makes us quite confused, though, because people that are in our family or people we've known for years or people that we've been friends with since we were in elementary school or things like that, this is really a time when you're seeing the split between who is it that's wanting to accept that the world is changing, whether they understand on a 3D level that it's changing energetically in your spirit, is yearning to be free, dude. Whether they accept that or not is really irrelevant. And so being able to find that casual observer position of allow me to put the goggles of, I can see this from many different perspectives, many different dimensions, many different astral planes, however you can understand that. That's what I'm talking about, is being able, as seers, prophets, clairvoyants, indigos, rainbow children, Blu-rays, whatever, star seeds, light workers, chosen people, elect ones, energy healers, people of that ilk. The more that we're able to use our skills and develop our skills, we become better about being able to not worry about what it is that other people are doing. We simply identify that, yeah, that's not mine, and I need to keep moving. Now, me reaching into myself and clearing out egoic states of myself that would battle with another egoic state, that's where the greatest work to do is. And sometimes we end up in these karmic loops where, why can't I get rid of this? What is the thing here? And there's something in there that we need to clear. And that's where, for me, I can see and observe and know. And cord cutting ceremonies became very clear for me and became very powerful for me because I could identify it. And yet there's still a yearning from souls who I really desperately want to know what this is about. And yet my ego state out here can't handle this. This is too much. I'm angry. I'm sad. I'm mad. I can't control this. I feel things inside me that don't make sense. And so the very people that can best assist the process are the ones who oftentimes are getting beat up the most or abused the most. And there is no way that I would ever say to anyone that it is our job as light workers or people of the light, torch bearers, however you identify, that there's no way that I would say that it is our work here to be physically killed in our 3D body or 3D experience, that we are to lose our identity or to battle with people endlessly. That is the battle, is to end it, is to just say, look, not to say you're hopeless and I got no work to do here. I simply say there's no more work for me to do here, period. And I'll leave the you're hopeless part out, because it isn't a matter that people are hopeless. They're desperate. Some of the most angry and awful behaving people that I've ever known and that I see, enacting stuff on the world stage currently, they're people who are desperately at a soul level crying out to please help me. And yet it is very similar to, excuse me, a lifeguard who would throw a ring in. The lifeguard doesn't jump in to try to save someone who's drowning because they're panicked, they're terrified. They can see on the edge of the pool that there's a lifeguard, help me, fool, throw me something, give me something, but they don't want the ring that is being thrown into them because they don't have the faith to know that it's the ring that can help you, bro, not me. If I get in the water with thee, I'm going to drown as well with you. And I have a lot of other people in the pool that can use rings. I have endless rings. However, I only have one me. And my endless infinity within me, it can drown because I own a 3D body, a whole avatar that doesn't do that, fish thing very well at all. So adapting to the call of what people are asking for does not mean that we get into the fray with them. It means that we've probably already jumped into a pool with a drowning person, or we've been a drowning person that just was trying to get away from those that were glomming on. We swim better anyway. And we didn't do well with that. And we made our way to the side of the pool. We got out. We figured out how we're going to get trained to be a lifeguard because we see all those drowning people out there. And that's a very noble cause. It's definitely what's necessary. However, throwing ourselves in there as the lifeguards, that's a terrible mistake that I know for myself. I tried very hard, so hard, and kept thinking, well, it's the journey of light workers or people who do have that different vantage point to help other people. And it is. However, the helpless are the ones who really remain in that state of believing, sadly, that you can, if you were willing to get calm for just half a second, long enough for him to hear me saying, the ring is what I'm throwing to you, and we will be able to save you. We will be able to get you to the side of the pool. We can't guarantee that it's going to, be pretty. We can't tell you it's going to be fun. We can't tell you that it's something that, is instantly done. We're not going to tell you all the lies and the bullshit that a lot of people will. However, we're going to be very honest with you that this is something that there's a whole bunch of you. And if you ask me to jump in with you, or you try to grab the ring and yank me in too because you're mad, or whatever it is, all of those ego states that people do freaky things, the more that they're identified with that part of themselves and only that part of themselves, if the longer they fight against that spiritual oneness is inside, desperately saying, move out of the way, fool, and take that ring and let them help you. And yet, if we're labeled out and we're called so and so, we've got this great, label here on earth, and we're very powerful, or we think we're very powerful in our family dynamic, in our job, in world politics, and whatever it is, it doesn't matter. If we've taken on that role and we wear that name tag very proudly, and we're not really willing to, that name tag, it washed off when you fell into the pool and started drowning. Immediately it fell off. Did you not see? And because of that ego state and that unconsciousness, that is an unwillingness that will keep a karmic cycle going on and on and on, where a light worker who, I can jump in there, or you snatch me in there and I can, perhaps take 2 or 3 times trying to drag myself out of it, fight you off, and, get back to the side of the pool and get out there again. But why not learn the better lesson, friend, is that sometimes it's just necessary to know that there are lots of people waking up, and there are lots of people who are qualified lifeguards, who may not be as strong as we are, may not be as talented as we are, maybe better than we are, who knows. Doesn't matter. That there are lots of people on this planet. This is an evolution that is happening for the planet and not leaving anyone behind, in that no one is left without the opportunity to be saved by the divine. No one is left to drown without having the opportunity to see a different vantage point and to see their own frequency and to get in touch with that and really realign. It's just a matter that the panic state of the ego cracking apart and breaking and losing all those, your title washed off. I don't even know who you are at this point anymore, except someone who clearly is drowning in the turbulence of the frequencies and the new age energies that are setting themselves in very, very heavily. Very, very pressed and hard. And I don't mean that in an unkind way, that, God's bringing retribution to the planet. That's not what I'm talking about. It's perceived by people who refuse to align as very turbulent and very harsh and very, oh my God, I can't believe this, because they're feeling all of that no matter what they're doing out here. I found that through these experiences with psychedelics and taking, different trips in that area, that I'm able to see that no matter what people are doing out here, when we see them actually behaving very ugly out here, like in world stage is one where, yeah, the most that I can see out there is exactly how it is in somebody's household. It's just take that down to the microcosmic level. But when we can see that out here, it's very easy to believe, right? Because we can physically see that. However, it is happening on an energetic level. No matter how well people are getting up, getting dressed, putting their face on, and talking about love and light or hate and destruction, it doesn't matter. That when we can really get those goggles on and see from a different perspective, we're able to interpret that energy and say, wow, it doesn't matter what people look like, what their mouths are saying anymore. It's a matter of what are they saying and doing at the same time, and what's that energetic stamp look like from up here. And if we don't have that gift, exactly, we can definitely hone that, and we hone our own skills. We all have X-Men skills of some kind, and we all have the ability to really tap into that intuition, which would tell us those kinds of things. And being able to identify just within our own body, there's something wrong here, whether I can tell or not, whether I can see this person looks like they're just, banging. It doesn't matter if I feel that, oh, this is a disharmony right here. I feel that, oh, we're not in concert A anymore. We're in constant, concert. No way. I can't do this. Then those karmic ties that we are struggling sometimes to cut that everywhere that we do with kindness, with love and light, truly, and whatever level that it takes to cut that, we're separating once again from our own karmic ties, our own karmic baggage, and healing our timelines, our ancestral baggage, our old world wounding, whatever it is, at whatever level. I don't interview every little piece of it. I just know that it doesn't matter whether it's me personally and healing wounds from my experience here on this earth, or some other, or whatever. It doesn't matter, because every single time it comes up, whether it's in me to heal, that I'm really reacting to this, I need to do something with this, or I'm observing it and being able to say, yeah, that's really some not stuff for me. We're going to get back to concert A within me. The more that I do that with a very loving presence of, it's best for me to move right here and cut you off instantly, cut you off kindly, cut you off aggressively, cut you off, period, without being aggressive in terms of, I'm going to hit you to, beat you to death and kill you so that you don't do this to anybody else. That's where we cross the line sometimes with, a lot of very, I consider, dangerous ideas in some of the spiritual practice that I see, and some of the spiritual mentors that I've heard, is that this is the time of retribution. This is the time when, I am justice and I bring it, baby. We bring justice when we're standing on the side of the pool, obviously not drowning. That is justice in and of itself for anyone who has eyes to see and is not willing to drown anymore, to say, I obviously don't know how to do this. I'm swirling and going down. I can release and let go and know that I'm going to drown anyway. Get really, really real about that. I'm going to drown anyway. Or I can possibly get some help from this person and listen to the guidance of, don't pull me in, fool. I'm not going to do that with you anymore. I've learned my lesson with that. And the less we get really too turned on by somebody else's cries, their pleas, their, oh, their guilt trips, their anger, whatever those ego states of being are. It's hard to watch. I'm not suggesting that, we don't answer the call when people are in literal, agony right in front of us and they're having some sort of an emergency. I'm saying that even if we're standing in the presence of another person, to get right there back, let me make sure I've anchored my pivot point here, so that no matter how I help you, if it's for this long or if it's the rest of our 3D lives, it doesn't matter, because I'm still going to be aligned with my home frequency, what I know to be, and I will help you to the point that I can help you. And then you're free to go continue choosing however you want to, because that is the free will choice that we're given when we're born onto this planet. That's the contractual understanding at a minimum for every single human being, that we come into a body and we understand we have free will choice, period. And therein lies the battle of what we do with that. Do we understand that? Do we work with that? Do we evolve that? Do we get in touch with what we already know? Because our greater contractual agreement is that we're here to help. We're here to bring into understanding in this 3D experience, the new 5D experience, the new earth, and what's my part in that. And people that are not aligned with that, or they don't understand that, or they don't have that contract, those are the people who you will see in all states of ego, trying to figure out how they can hang on to their titles, how I can hang on to my role, how I can hang on to my importance, and my validity as a human being. And it is no longer about being aligned with the validity of being a human being. We are meant to be quite inauspicious, in our auspiciousness, and quite auspicious in our inauspiciousness. We are meant to live in the duality of the freedom to choose. I choose to evolve, or I choose to succumb to entropy in a different way. And let me tell you what, when we are consumed by earth and worldly things, we can really create disastrous situations for ourselves that look quite pitiful. And people try to help us. And by helping us, I can't say that throwing someone into a lake to learn how to swim, I can't say that I love that idea. However, when people continue to create situations where they know they don't know how to swim, and yet they're throwing themselves in again and again, asking to be rescued because they just really want to know what that water's about. Well, that's how I consider 3D Earth to be. The more that we want to know what all of that energy is about, that dense stuff that is succumbing to entropy, when we really dig around in there and we swim around in there and then want somebody to rescue us when it freaks us out, that's where, whether I threw you in or you jumped in and you don't know how to do that, friend, then that is yours to grow the muscles, either to learn how to swim to the side or rescue yourself, which is ideally the greatest power that we can have. However, that's a bit much to ask somebody who doesn't know anything at all, and they're in the turbulent, ocean, or the turbulent pool that's suddenly, in a tidal wave experience. Then take the help that's being offered to you by the people who are genuinely there offering it to you. And discernment is the greater part of understanding when we're looking to receive or to give, of who really is my work to do here, what is my work to do here, and how are my gifts best expressed out here, that I can do that and remain on my pivot point always, no matter what I'm doing, my human doingness. And how about I be my human beingness always, that my human being is right here clued into me and my home frequency, that so that my human doing will be doing that which is best serving the collective of humanity and its rising consciousness into 5D and new earth energies. It is very confusing for a lot of people and provokes anger. That which we don't understand, that we have fear of, we often respond to with anger because we don't understand it. And especially now, when what is going on, we're seeing more spiritual phenomenon happening all over the place. We're seeing weather patterns, we're seeing all kinds of things that look very end times and tribulation and things. And it is the end time of the age of Pisces. We're going to new earth understanding. However, new earth understanding does not bring any of that ego state and those battles with us. That's why, Custer's Last Stand, man, did you not read the history books? Didn't go well. So for one side or the other. So it's a matter of really being able to identify what is mine to pick up and battle and what is mine to not. 3333, thank you very much. So as you journey forward, using whatever tools you use that are very high vibrational, I recommend. However, you get to decide that what best serves you and your mission here, to be a light worker, to be a torchbearer, to be somebody that can stand on their pivot point and know that that person is very clearly drowning. However, they do not want my help. They cannot receive my help. Then I'm not helping them by continuing to allow them to exhaust their energies and exhaust all their, endless whatever the excuses and reasons and, karmic baggage is, by engaging that for long term to try to convince them of that. It just keeps that idea going inside of their ego state that this is how we do this, and it is not. So it's a harsh reality, 3D reality, for people to get the door slammed in their face and say, but you owe me. We owe no one anything, and they owe us and nothing either. We do not owe anyone anything except the beauty of being aligned with our own divinity. That is what we owe. In my humble opinion, we owe to the universe first, especially if we feel contractually bound that we have a mission here. It is to align with that first, and that guides who we can really align with and help out here. It is truly about becoming sovereign. That is new earth energy. That is the most powerful state of being we could possibly be in, is to align with our own sovereignty so that we can realign here on the planet physically in the 3D with those people who are really best aligned in the 5D, which will mean a lot of separation, perhaps from family members, friends, circles, jobs, etc., where it's all breaking apart. It's not breaking apart for some rando reason. It's breaking apart so that we can see this really is what's best aligned with me. This is what is best for me. This is where I can express my divinity and stay on my pivot point without having to battle, without having to worry about, taking a blow all of a sudden. When we're in those pods of people and collectives, that's where we are the strongest and where we unite. And so we can, get away from battling with people who are choosing to be in collectives that's not what they want to do. They're not interested in it. And though it is sad to watch, it's hard to watch people suffer, and it's hard to watch to know that we're watching people who are choosing that battle for themselves by refusing to align. And it's not my business to know why. It's not my business to go checking in their Akashic records or to be checking their energy pattern or anything about them, to get readings on them, to none of that. Not in my personal opinion. That is not my job, because there's so many complexities to the 5D and beyond that we come here, all of us, with different things, and we all come with very different energy patterns and energy signatures. And when we have trying to unmesh, and ungank all of the very gobbledygook energies that are within us, once we separate all that out, we can't share one energy signature. My signature is mine, just like yours is. And even though somebody can copy it, or I could copy their signature, it's still not my authentic signature. And that's wherein the trouble and the battle is that I really just, I don't want to have to figure out what my own signature is, because I don't know. My ego state needs to go. So I hope that's been helpful to you in some way, and I hope that you enjoy your day no matter what part of the day you are in, and get within your skin, because you're divine. It is so, so magical. It's so, so balanced, and is so, so solidly there, so pure, so loving, and so very, very fine. May you find it quickly to get there, to reach that place inside where it's not my job to rescue the world. It's not. It's my job to rescue me and allow myself to be rescued out of my ego identity. So, as I said, take care and enjoy being within your skin, because you're divine, totally beautiful, and totally fine. Take care, and I'll see you again 3737 again, my friend. Bye bye.